How's it going, Top Forest TV? My name's Jack, and welcome to my review of Nottingham Forest 1, Aston Villa 1. So, finished a little while ago, probably about an hour ago now, at the City Ground. You know, I'm going to take that point. I think every point in this division is precious, especially for a club like Forest, who have just come up and not had the best of starts, battling for their lives. To pick up a point against Aston Villa, you can't complain. Based on the last few games that we played, last 5 games where we've lost every single one of them, I think you take that point and you move on and you look forward to Wolves on Saturday, where I could see us getting something out of it, But looking at this game, I think there's a lot of positives you can take. I think, obviously, if you'd asked every Forest fan before kick-off what they wanted out of the game, I think a lot of them would have said all 3 points. Given the sort of new contract that Cooper's got and the positivity off the pitch, hopefully that would translate onto the pitch and, wanting a response, I guess, from the Leicester performance. But, I think the point, I'm definitely going to take it, I think you need to try and get every point that you can in our position, and it stops the rot, sorry about that. Sorry about that. There was, 5 games on the bounce, no points. To come into this one against Villa and to, show a real difference from that Leicester game and to pick up a point which takes us off the foot of the table, a win against Wolves and a Southampton. If they don't win, if they draw or they it's not. It's just if they lose. If they draw, goal difference will probably still put them ahead of us. But if they lose and we win, then we can go out of the drop zone, which is brilliant. Not at the best of starts to the season, but if we can get a win at the Molineux and hope Southampton. Who have Southampton got? Southampton have got. So I'm just looking on my laptop here, or my computer screen. Southampton have got West Ham at home on Sunday. 2:00 kickoff for that one. So that will be one that we'll be looking at with interest should we get all 3 points. And one that I could see West Ham getting something out of. West Ham have come onto a bit of form recently, so hopefully they can do us a bit of a favour and beat Southampton in that one, and then we can try and climb out the bottom 3, which will be massive after the 5 games that we've just had. But today, you've got to look at that defence, and you've got to be a lot to really look at and to grasp hold of, really. I think the defence against Leicester was awful. That Leicester performance was the worst under Steve Cooper by a long shot. Awful, that. Truly awful. But the defence tonight was a stark contrast. A lot more compact, a lot more organised. It looked really well drilled. Ashley Young did score that goal from range, and we've got a bit of a problem with conceding goals from range. It does kind of seem to be a bit of a problem at the moment, which Steve Cooper needs to try and sort out, which I know he'll be working as hard as he can to try and do so. But, other than that, they didn't really offer too much. I was a little bit concerned after they scored to make it 1-1 that maybe we might sort of capitulate a little bit. And there was a moment where Ollie Watkins had the ball on the back of the net after poor defending from us, really. Luckily for us, it was offside. But other than that, I don't think we really, put too much wrong defensively, really. You look at the fullbacks for me, and I think they looked really, really positive, a positive aspect of the performance today. I think Harry Toffolo down that left-hand side looked really, really good. I'd definitely start him against Wolves over Brennan. I think he's not really put too many feet wrong, really, this season so far. I mean, obviously he played against... did he play against City? I think he might have played against City, But, that's a write-off, really. I don't think anyone really played well. But we didn't play bad, just City were Manchester City. But I think in the performance he's put in. I was looking at the highlights earlier on from the West Ham game, trying to look at a positive result for us this season, and he played quite well in that one from all accounts. So it was positive to see him in the starting lineup today ahead of Brennan Johnson, and I think he played really well and staked a good claim to play on Saturday. I think that's a really a really positive performance, and one that you look at and you think, yeah, get him in that side. He deserves it. I think at right back, I think it was good to see Sergio Aurier get an hour under his belt. I think he played quite well, to be honest with you. He was quite solid defensively and tried a few things going forward, which I think, you can't really complain at, and I think he played quite well. And then Williams off the bench looked hungry, looked like he had a point to prove a little bit, and was happy to go forward and try and make things happen a little bit, which we lacked in stages. So to have him sort of come on and to go forward that bit and really try and be a bit positive in his play was quite good to see in the last 30 minutes. It's a shame that didn't really rub off on a few more players, which I'll touch on a bit more in a minute. But no, I think the full-backs all put in decent performances, to be fair, and I think Harry Toffolo has to start now against Wolves after that performance. I think you can be really positive on that performance, and I think he can be really happy with that performance in himself. Didn't really do too much wrong, and I think he looked solid down that left-hand side. The back two of McKenna and Cook didn't really put too much wrong either. I think they were quite solid. The one or two challenges from Cook that I was questioning, but overall solid from the two of them. Henderson didn't really have too much to do other than that shot from Ashley Young, which I don't think he could do anything about really. And then there was one opportunity, I might have been Cameron Archer, I can't remember, but it was kind of a close attempt from a cross that he kind of dropped, but then he managed to sort of retain it back into his possession fairly quickly. So that averted all danger there, which was really positive. The two DMs, I was a bit nervous about Kouyaté playing because he hasn't been too great of late, and he came in and into midfield and he was all right, to be honest with you. Didn't really see too much of him, which I think for a defensive midfielder isn't bad at all. He's just going about his game and looked all right. Same with Ramon Freuler, growing into it a bit more. Hopefully he can start to click a little bit more with some of the more attacking players, feed them in the balls a bit more, and I'm feeling a bit positive about those two. Hopefully it works a bit more going forward. I do want to see O'Brien probably start alongside Freuler maybe. At Molineux, I think he offers a little bit more going forward, a bit more box to box, I think he has to kind of start in these games after that sort of performance off the bench against Fulham. Then you look at the two sort of wide men in. I'm just trying to work out who did we had Johnson on the right. Who was on the left? Hang on a minute, I've just completely had a mind blank. Gibbs White, that was it. For a second I was thinking Gibbs White was in the middle, but he was out on the left. Just quickly then, touch back on the midfield. I completely forgot about this man. I don't know how I forgot about this man. He was brilliant tonight. Ryan Yates. It was a coming of age performance from him, really, in terms of Premier League football. I think he's had a few performances where maybe he's looked a bit Championship, no offence, in that he's just looked like he's not really made that step up. But tonight he was combative in that middle of the park. Yeah, in the middle of the park, in that midfield, put himself about there. Was a real kind of a leader, if you will, in his performance. The way that he was not afraid to kind of look to get himself stuck in and to maybe try a little bit of a risky challenge to make sure. Sorry about that, I just had to move position from my chair because my phone ran out of enough charge to be able to record my video. But as I was saying, I think in moments in that game, Ryan Yates had to try and get maybe a little bit more stuck in than some of the other players. Try and maybe do a little bit more of a risky foul, or not foul, but challenge to try and stop the attack, or to maybe sort of try and win the ball back. There was an opportunity for Aston Villa down the left-hand side. I think it might have been Cameron Archer who was trying to get a ball across, and then Yates just kind of made the foul, picked up a yellow card. He kind of had to do it to sort of halt the attack. Nothing came of the following free kick, so it worked out in the end. But it was quite wise from Yates in some of the things he was doing. He was being a little bit more aggressive than probably some of the other midfielders in the Forest side, but it just kind of had to just stamp his authority. He had the captain's armband, so he had to lead by example, but had to do a little bit more just to try and to break up the attacks, and it worked really. I think it was a really, really good performance from Yates today, and it really showed that you can hack it in this division. So moving on into those wide players, and that I did mention with Gibbs White and Johnson. For me, one was man of the match, and one was a little bit. I think I was a little bit disappointed with him. So I'll touch on the players I was a little bit disappointed with first, and that was Brennan Johnson. Obviously, Brennan in the Championship was very, very good. Don't get me wrong, he was fantastic, and one of the best players in the league, one of the best players, if not the best player in our squad all season. I think he was fantastic, but he was kind of willing to take risks, sort of willing to run at players and commit players and make them kind of a bit nervous, really. But today it looked like he was kind of the little bit of the more nervous player. I don't know, he could have been a little bit more braver, I think, and tried to take a couple of players on rather than sort of coming short for the ball, and instead of trying to turn and look to move forward or look to pick out a forward-facing pass, he would sort of drop in deep and then sort of bounce the ball back off himself and move it back instead of, like I say, trying to turn on it, or when he was one-on-one, instead of trying to commit to the man and run at the player, try and get past him that way. He was just sort of more willing to slow it down and move the ball across, or look to try and play a ball forward that wasn't really, kind of the one that was around the defender or something. Just maybe for me could have tried a little bit more to go at players, but I think in this position, you can't blame him too much when we're having a bit of a difficult time of things at the minute, and you don't really want to do something that's going to cause your team to be in a position where they're vulnerable or where they're going to kind of potentially be counted on, and then maybe a goal's occurred and it's because you've done something that you tried something that didn't pay off, and it's then at your feet. And you're going to have the criticism piled on you. I think you can't really blame him for that, but I think he needs to try and work on being that a little bit more positive, that little bit more braver, I guess, and just really try to take on a defender and use that pace, use that skill that we know he has to sort of take on his man and try and commit them that way, and try and help us to be a bit more attacking in that sort of situation, because I think defensively we were solid today, but we really struggled to get in any sort of rhythm going forward. I'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment when I move on to a couple of other players, but I think we kind of did struggle a little bit to try and work a passing game going forward. A lot of our attacks were on the back of a clearance rather than sort of a move of passing football. There's a lot of our attacks where we weren't in control, we were just reacting, which is nothing wrong with that. I think in a lot of games we will have to be a reactionary side, look to pounce on a mistake or get at the end of a clearance kind of thing. But, in this game as a home side against Aston Villa, who didn't really offer all that much, maybe we could have tried to sort of introduce a passing rhythm, a bit of a passing passage of play, if you will. But, it's not always that straightforward. I think maybe if Johnson could be a little bit more braver and try and take on players a little bit more, maybe it could have offered a couple more chances, opened up a few more avenues for us to go down. But, he didn't do anything wrong, really, any mistakes, too many, that I can think of anyway, if any. So you can't really blame him too much. But then moving on to the other side, to his teammate over on the left, Morgan Gibbs White, for me, brilliant. He was brilliant. He kind of played sort of as an attacking midfielder centrally and as a kind of a player on the left as well. He sort of flicked between the two positions depending on where he was needed. And I think he was really good today, Gibbs White. brilliant ball in from that free kick for the goal. I think he really tried to drive us forward. Lovely piece of skill every now and again to try and beat a defender. And I think his passing was really good, but his overall game was really positive. He was definitely our most attacking threat, our most sort of playmaker on the pitch out there. I think he really tried to create a lot of chances and really make a lot of things happen. In a team where we're playing quite defensive football, it's not easy to do that. With a team where there's not many other attackers in and around you, it's not too easy to do that. But I think he was man of the match for me today in a Forest perspective. I think he played really well. And, a lot of positives from Morgan Gibbs White this season. I know he hasn't necessarily contributed with any goals himself. Got an assist today, which is really important for him. Hopefully that'll sort of bounce his confidence on a little bit more. But I think... I think he's kind of been a little bit of a shining light. He's really tried to show his quality, but like I say, when other players are around you who aren't doing very well, it's not easy to do that. And I think today he played really well and deserved man of the match. And then for me, Emmanuel Dennis, he scored his goal, but other than that, I don't think he was particularly great. Lost the ball a lot of the time. Really struggled to be that sort of basis for us to build around going forward. It was a shame. I think he took that header really well, but other than that, he wasn't really that good for me. And then off the bench, Surridge tried to sort of get involved, tried to run down some of the players and really get himself involved. But like I say, when there's not really too much going forward, you can't really expect too much from the attackers in an attacking sense. I've touched on Williams already. And then O'Brien came off the bench, and for me, I think he has to start. Kouyaté and Florida weren't bad, Yates weren't bad, the three, but I think one of them has to go. I'd probably say Kouyaté for me, and bring in O'Brien. I think that's the call of action for me in the midfield. I think after that cameo against Fulham, I think you have to play him. You really, really do. But a 1-1 draw, one I'll definitely take. I take the point, and we move on to the next game, which I'm feeling confident about. Overall, I think you've got to be positive. I think you have to be positive from a Forest perspective in this one. It stops the rot. Every point's precious in this league, and hopefully it's a foundation for us to now build upon. A lot of work to go into the next game, and hopefully we'll have another 3 points on the board. A win for us and a loss for Southampton at the weekend takes out of the drop zone, which is a huge moment for us. So hopefully we can go ahead and do that. But positive, a bit more positive from Forest, and hopefully we can take that into the next game and build on it. Really hope that's the case. So if you did enjoy this video, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new to Talk Forest TV and you haven't already, and come on, you Reds.